Welcome to the latest episode in my history of Dark Ages England. This is the story of how the country came into being. It follows the Anglo-Saxon invasion of what was former Roman Britannia. If you missed the previous episodes, be sure to look them up. And please give feedback if you find it gradely. Then click the like button. Episode 23, The Reign of King Canute. Canute was now firmly on the throne of England. He had the backing of the Thanes and Earls, the administrators who ran the government, but also put his full backing into the church and supported it with enthusiasm, leaving his old pagan ways behind, well, most of them. True to the tradition of some English kings, he had his bit on the side, Aelfgifu, who he never officially married, and was still in the background when he marries Ethelred's widow, Emma, who also is actually an Aelfgifu. Emma is just the English shortened version of it. This latter move immediately makes him part of Normandy court. Canute then has Eadwig, the surviving son of Ethelred, murdered along with many others who may pose a threat, including Eadwig Striana, who switched sides for the last time, after which he was dispatched to his maker. However, Edmund's two sons were safely sent to central Hungary, which proved to be out of the reach of Canute. All this detail during Ethelred's reign was recorded in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle by a monk at Abingdon. He is biased, but as a piece of journalism he is excellent. Throughout all the twists, turns, infighting, intrigues, marching, murder, marriages, he follows the plot of Ethelred and the gossip. But it may be he knew someone in court from whom he gleaned the information, because it dwindles to very little on Ethelred's death. The administration of the kingdom shows it had become a sovereign state, as the governance still went on irrespective of events surrounding the land. The taxes were taken, the law was dispensed, albeit somewhat shakily. The administration had to know how to read and write, and we have charters from Ethelred extant showing the administration in action. That the scriptoria of the abbeys was left undisturbed seems clear, so the teaching of a younger generation continued, unlike after the time of Bede in the 7th century and the first Viking raids in the 8th century. The descendants of Alfred's monks were still busily sharpening the quills from the left side of the swan or goose if right-handed, or vice versa, and making their ink soaked and boiled hawthorn bark or soot and egg white. The methods were being passed on. Manuscripts praising God was still being illuminated in glorious colours by quill and painstaking patience. Sweyn had converted to Christianity, but he had followed its teachings only lightly. With Canute, there was full support for the church, as shown by his building of churches and abbeys. The reign of Canute can be said to begin with the Assembly of Oxford in 1018, where Edgar's Law was agreed as the basis for the continued relationships between the earls and the king, and an oath confirming this was taken by all parties. Canute maintained the taxes initially that Ethelred was forced to introduce. They appear, though, after a while to have not been enforced to the same high rates, after an initial £72,000 was taken, that is, plus an extra £10,500 from London, which illustrates the growing importance of the city. The administration was kept in place throughout Canute's reign, and the money used to improve the governance and protection of the country. He reduced the massive fleet with which the conquest had been achieved down to 40 ships in 1018. This was in keeping with his having secured his position, which was improved when he slew Eadwig Striana, who had helped him gain the throne in the first place, and who initially had made Earl of Mercia at the Oxford Assembly. Eadwig, brother of Edmund, fled overseas, but he was sought out by Canute's agents and killed. These are points worth remembering when one is considering Christianity in Dark Ages England. Forgiveness and turning the other cheek are virtually non-existent, especially in politics. One of the difficulties with new governance is where the borders of the realm lie. Around the coast, this is not a problem with regards to England. However, to the west and to the north, the boundaries had no definite marker, and they would and did change with kings and overlords. This is possibly why his bit on the side Eilgifu was put in charge of the northern part of the kingdom. It gave her responsibility and reduced friction between her and Queen Emma by keeping them apart. Also, she was Viking, and the north was still primarily under the Danelaw, and any troops were more likely to respond to one of their own. Towards the end of Canute's reign, Spottiswoode is made Earl of Northumbria and maintained the uneasy truce, more broken than adhered to, between Scotland and England. Lothian seeming to keep more than its official share, but as this never seems to have disturbed the main centres of trade or become anything more than occasional poaching, it never escalated into war. Wales at this time does not seem to pose any threat or major problems, although the border is unclear and seems somewhat elastic. Offa's Dyke, having fallen into disuse after Offa's reign, was merely a geographical feature of no importance to the comings and goings of trade. One of the signs of Canute's successful reign is the ASC shrinks to minor paragraphs. 1021 is a fair example. Here, in this year at Martinmas, King Canute outlawed Earl Thorkel. Martinmas being November 11th, although with a lack of gossip attached, begs the question, was this a new writer or someone who had lost their source at court? Thorkel met with Canute at a later point, and a reconciliation was agreed, and Thorkel appears to have governed Denmark on behalf of Canute. This sounds like a power struggle from which neither side seems quite sure of winning outright by brute force. So a political solution was found. Again, speculation as to the motives, and our sources still leave us in the dark. No gossip mongers amongst the writers of the ASC at this late point. Either that or they were too far removed from court and lacked the contacts, which is more or less confirmed by the date of Canute's visit to Rome, being erroneously noted as 1031, a 4-year mistake. Unlikely to be made by someone with direct contact in court, whereas a solitary monk working from the travelling musician or trader and recording a few years later may well get it wrong. In 1027, not 1031, Canute went on a pilgrimage to Rome, which seems to have been both a religious as well as a political act. This was to attend the crowning of Conrad II, the Holy Roman Emperor, by Pope John XIX. Conrad's son, Henry, King of Germany, was later betrothed to Gunhilda, Canute's daughter, by Emma, as part of a land deal. This is to settle borders between Denmark and Germany, as they were not demarcated at this time. Remember, England is nominally under the rule of Denmark. With the backing of the Pope, Canute was able to broker various deals that enabled traders from his empire to travel through a number of ports, towns and cities without paying tax, or certainly a greatly reduced tax, and also to have the protection of the local prince or king. At this time of some uncertainty, but likewise slowly expanding trade within Europe, the Baltic and Scandinavia, it seems to have opened routes to much more activity. This was seized upon by the merchants who, right across Europe, including England, were starting to ply greater trade and expand the internal markets of the continent, as global warming really started to take a hold. If you found this video greatly, give it a thumbs up. I publish new videos every Monday with occasional bonus episodes, usually on a Thursday. Also, comment and spread the word on social media outlets. Hit the subscribe button to get the latest episodes and ring that bellaroonies to get reminders. And any recommendations on other media like Parler, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit or history forums would be appreciated. Thank you.